Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. My co-host, celebrity co-host, is a name that we all know if we read the news. The one, the only Miss Jennifer Rosiska.
Correct. Rosiska.
Rosiska is on the show today, and you're here to basically shed some light to what really happened that the media blew out of proportion.
Exactly. Yes.
And what else?
And to show how I have been able to grow from that experience, what I learned and how it's helped me to become who I am today.
We won't get into all the logistics of that, but I read it and I said to myself, there has to be more to what I'm reading than meets the eye, especially being a former school teacher myself. And the fact that I know that being a teacher is really what your calling was. And now all of a sudden you had to reinvent yourself, prove to not only yourself, but the world, but more importantly, your family that you're not going to let your mistake keep you down.
No. And because I know I have impact. I have impact that I need to continue to make in this world.
With that said, we're going to hold on to that story, but let's go deeper. Let's talk to a beautiful young lady who, let me tell you about this lady right here. She lives in upstate New York. I never understood when people say upstate. Like, what does that mean? Like upstate? I live upstate. It's like they just don't never say like New York or Jersey. Hey man, I live upper Jersey. I live upper Indiana. You're upper Ohio. You know what I mean? But anyway, let me tell you about this young lady. I always use this word, that beast mindset. And you often wonder how somebody recovers from their traumas. And the show isn't always about trauma, but let's get real. We all have gone through something, and you have those that allow that circumstances to keep them pent. And you got those that say, you know what, F this. I'm going to get my shit right and get it back in order. Well, this young lady right here has not only done all that and a hell of a lot more, but more importantly, she's setting the comedy world on fire. Selling out wherever she goes. Hell, I never performed on the Howard Stern show in front of 20 million. I wish he called me, you know. But what's that like? But more importantly, imagine so much trauma that you're afraid to leave the house. There's a name for that, and I can't say it. But without further ado, let's welcome to the Andre The Beast Crayton Show, Miss Comedy herself, April Burke. What's up, April?
How are you?
Look at that smile. Look at those dimples.
Yeah.
So how are we doing today, baby girl?
Great today. Doing great. How about yourself?
We're doing great. I looked over your bio and it was really heart-wrenching for me to see everything that you went through and how you came back to not only wipe away the tears, but you still replace tears of your own and replace it with joy and laughter, and then bring that joy and laughter to the millions of people. Before we go down that journey, tell the viewers a little bit about you.
Well, I am a stand-up comedian. I'm a proud mother to a 7-year-old boy. And I'm currently working on writing a sitcom for myself that's going to be pitched around to different places.
What's a sitcom?
And I believe
What's a sitcom going to be about? I'm curious.
It's about my life, really, and the craziness of dating in the modern world. My friend Nick, who is a widower, my best friend Amy was his wife. We're going to include him in there as well. And then my son and his autistic daughter. It's going to be a very hilarious, absurd kind of show.
I can't wait to see this. Now, when I looked at your journey to getting where you got to, it was met with some abuse as a child. What was that like growing up for you? And were you brought up in upstate New York?
We originally came from Queens, New York, and then we moved to Long Island. Everything was fine then, no abuse, nothing. But then we moved upstate New York, and it was my great-grandfather. He had raised my mother because her mother died when she was 3, and then her father just abandoned her. So she let him move in with us when we moved upstate. And then that was, and I was 4 years old at that point. And that is when the abuse started. It went from age 4 to about 8.
When you say abuse, you said this was at the hands of your grandfather?
Great-grandfather, yes, in the basement of our house.
What kind of abuse?
A sexual abuse.
Were you the only child in your family?
No, I actually have an older brother. He's 3 years older.
but the stuff was placed upon you. The actions was done upon you.
Yes.
I know at that age, we really don't understand what's going on.
Hmm.
When you started to recognize or feel that something wasn't right, you shared it with who did you share it with?
Nobody. I kept that inside until I was 19. And then I finally told my parents.
I'm just curious. Why did you keep it locked away? Because this isn't the first time that I've heard individuals say that they kept it inside. I'm gonna use myself for example, because I always tell people you have to learn to put yourself in other people's shoes. When it was done to me, it took a while for me to tell my mom what the babysitter was doing and so forth, and what the kids at school was doing. But why did you think it took you so long? Were you coached by your grandfather not to say these things?
Don't remember him ever telling me that, but I didn't know any different. I knew it felt weird and wrong, but I wasn't really aware that it was something really, really wrong.
When you went to talk to your mom, before we go there, what kind of behavior patterns were you displaying? Because you know this isn't right. And usually what happens is when we're that age, we act out, whether it's through violence, whether it's through separation, eating. There's always something, what we call a coping mechanism. What was
Yeah,
your
I kind
coping
of
mechanism?
withdrew and kind of hung out in my room a lot by myself. But then he was also, it was weird because he was also like my best friend, my great grandfather. He would listen to me tell jokes and sing, and he would give me money and presents and all that. So it was very confusing as to what was going on to me.
When you finally decided to open the vault, so to speak, to share what was going on, how was it met?
My parents believed me. They immediately sold their house because they were thinking, if I go there, it's kind of traumatic for me to go there to their house. It had come about because I had started having suicidal thoughts. And so went to a psychiatrist, and then I told them first, and then they told me that I should tell my parents, and they brought my parents in and we all told together.
Is this when you started to develop post-traumatic stress at a young age?
Yes. That's when all the symptoms started, the depression, the anxiety, the nightmares, all that.
Was your grandfather, when you told your grandfather, you know where I'm going with
I
this.
do, yes.
When you
I was
told
going
your,
to ask that question if you didn't.
go ahead, ask the question. Go ahead.
Well, when this revelation came about, where was you said your great grandfather?
Yes, he had passed away when I was 16. He
Okay.
had dementia, and I actually had to take care of him when he lived at home during a summer break. And that was kind of traumatic too, because he was kind of saying weird things like, "Oh, look at her legs," or like really creepy things. But he was calling me his daughter's name, so that kind of even creeped me out even more. Like, did he do this to his daughter as well? We don't know.
Well, and at that age too, obviously then at that age that you were, when you were having to care for him, you were much, much older. And you
Yes.
definitely then knew, like you said, you knew when you were younger that the dynamic, this wasn't right. But
Hmm.
at that age, at 16, you had a different perspective about what had transpired and what was going on then, even in those moments when when you were having to care for him.
Yes, definitely. And not shortly after that, I started my first job, and my boss cornered me in a back room and tried to rape me. So it was just like nonstop kind of sexual violence towards me for years.
Let me ask you a question. And that was a good question that you asked, because I was going to ask the same question. Like, was your grandfather alive when
Yeah.
you went and told? So let's go back a minute. You mentioned some things that your grandfather was undergoing while going through his dementia and so forth. You mentioned his daughter. Were you close with his daughter?
That was my mother's mother, and she died when my mother was 3. She was 22. She died during childbirth, so we don't know.
What did you know about your grandfather prior to him moving in with you? Did you know anything about him? Did you later learn things about him that you go, wow, that he had some serious issues? Because usually these things are things that we usually have a tendency to repeat what happened to us in some shape, form, or fashion, unless we recognize the behavior pattern is not conducive or can harm others. What did you later find out about your grandfather, if you found out anything at all?
Some interesting things. I did find out that there was an issue with him and my grandmother's friends when she was younger, that he had done inappropriate things. I found out that he had been molested by his father when he was a child. And then when his wife died is when he took care of my mother. She was 16 at that time. And then he started drinking. He was an alcoholic. He was visiting hookers. A lot of stuff went on with him.
Did he ever mess with your mom that you know of?
No, he did not, she said.
Let's move back to 16 years old. You get your first job. Did you have any indications that this dude was a sexual predator?
He was a little creepy, and I probably should have paid attention to those red flags, because every time he would leave for the night, he would say, "Come give me a hug." And then that night that he brought me into, it was a porn room actually at the video store that he brought me into. He's like, "Can you give me a hug?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, right here." No, we have to go back here. I want to show you something. And then we went in that room, and he pushed me on the table that was in there and tried to assault me.
What did you do at 16 years old? You probably was traumatized. You reached
Yeah.
to your parents, or you just said, I'm just, did you do what you did before? Just say, I'm just going to keep this locked away. How did you handle that situation?
Actually, I didn't. The next day came, and it was time for me to go to work, and I just wanted to throw up. I was having a panic attack. And so I told my mom, I don't want to go to work, and she asked me why, and I told her what happened. So my father, who worked for the Division of Criminal Justice, immediately called the chief of police in town to have him talk to him. He was not arrested. The chief told him that if he was arrested and I had to go to court, they would make me look like I was the one that approached him and did inappropriate things. And they didn't want to put me through that kind of emotional warfare.
How did, looking back, it's kind of tripped out when these things happen. It's always a situation to where it's your word against my word situation. And at 16 years old, a little girl is looking for her father to intervene. But in certain cases, you can't intervene. The law has to run its course. Your father didn't want to put you through and your mom through that type of humiliation. But how did you look at your parents knowing that it happened to you with your grandfather? And now it happened with somebody that you were supposed to trust in the workforce, and all they can do because of the age is do that. Did you have any resentment towards them?
I was very angry because at that point, I thought my father did nothing. I didn't know that he had called the police. I didn't know that till years later. I thought that he just did absolutely nothing about it. And that's why I was really furious, because this man that tried to attack me also went on to try to assault 2 other teenagers.
Did he eventually go to jail, get called, anything like that you remember?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. He did close his business down, though, and he's not around anymore.
And then just to clarify, so this happened when you were 16.
Yes.
But then you did not reveal what had transpired between you and your great-grandfather until you were 19.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Why did you wait till 19?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I didn't really think about it too much, because sometimes you kind of block it out of your mind. Like the PTSD will do that to you, kind of block it out. And then you start remembering things. And I always knew that I was very uncomfortable. But then I started remembering things like how he had touched me and things like that. And just feeling out of control emotionally. I didn't know what was going on with me. I thought I had gone crazy with the PTSD, feeling suicidal, depressed, anxious. So I decided to go to a psychiatrist, and they were the ones that kind of brought it out of me that it had happened. And then we told my parents.
Well, and did what you experienced at 16, did that get you thinking about all that you had experienced as a young child?
Yeah.
With your own, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Let me,
like the trauma of that in itself then resurfaces through the current trauma that you had just endured
Yes.
at your job.
Yeah.
let me ask. So my question is, with so much going on in your life at different stages that are all trauma packed, how do you evolve with relationships?
Well, actually, my beginning relationships were very healthy and well. And then I was married for 9 years. And after that marriage, I kind of started attracting the abusers, the narcissists, the abusive types.
Why do you think that? I hear women say that all the time, but
Yeah. I don't
this
know.
is the thing. This is the thing I want to ask. Don't you guys see the flags?
You know, you kind of do at first, but at first they're so charming and you think you've met this perfect person. And then that kind of like, yeah, that kind of, that mask kind of fades down. And then when you see who they really are, you're so deep into it, you start blaming yourself. Like maybe they're this way because of me, because I've had bad stuff happen to me my entire life. Maybe it's me. And they try to make you think that you're the crazy one. So you feel like, man, I got to change myself. But then eventually you realize, no, it's them and it's not you.
So this was, I take it this was multiple times that you try to date in these things. What were some of the things that you was dealing with in each one of those relationships? Because you was married for 9. Like what happened with that one that dissolved, and then what happened to the other?
My marriage was great until I had my gallbladder taken out, and the surgeon cut a wrong nerve, giving me stomach paralysis, which made me very sick. So I was in the hospital a lot, and then I started getting really depressed, and that kind of put distance in between us because he got kind of tired of being in the hospital every day because I was in there a lot. And then we just kind of drifted apart, and he hooked up with his ex-girlfriend, and then he cheated on me, and that's when that marriage ended.
And then you attracted, how many others? Was it 2 that was dysfunctional?
Yes, the first one was physical and the second one was emotional. The first one, the physical one, is actually my son's biological father. He, I did not know at the time, but he had a very bad drug addiction. And when he would come down from the drugs and couldn't get any more because he didn't have any money, that's when he would snap on me and attack me. I didn't know that till years later because I never saw him do the drugs.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how do you not know somebody doing drugs? Seem like they would be like taking money out of your pocketbook. They, you can't keep up that for so long. There was no signs that this dude was a drug dependent person.
Not really. He used to borrow money from his mother all the time, and then he would like go out for the day, either working or just saying he was going out. And then I guess he would do it then. But apparently,
How long were you guys? How long?
2 years altogether.
He hid that from you from 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the next guy.
I met online because I had just kind of given up on dating, and I started talking to him on Facebook, and he had a podcast that he wanted me to come on. So we started talking like that. He was living in Florida. I'm in New York. So he decided to come visit. We got along great. And then he came back, and here's the mistake I made. I let him move in with me without really knowing. Yes. I've learned that lesson. Don't move anybody in. That's when you really, really know each other. And then
So when he moved in, what happened?
yeah. So then I could tell he was lying to me about something right in the beginning when he moved. So I did something bad. I looked through his phone and I found pictures of a naked woman and pictures of him. And like the day before he was meant to come see me, to come move in with me, he was inviting her over and talking about having sex with her. So I approached him about that, and he turned it on me. It was my fault because I looked in his phone. It was my fault because I had the reaction. He didn't apologize for another 3.5 years. Just the constant blaming me for everything.
How do you maneuver that relationship, when you went through the phone? And that's, I'm not taking up for him by any way, but he tells you that this was before, you saw it was before you guys met, right?
Well, they had hooked up before we met, but the day before he moved in with me, he was inviting her over for sex.
What a world.
Yeah.
So how did you wind up dissolving that one?
I actually left. I went to a domestic violence program and had them get me a hotel room for that night. He had been explosive during the morning already. And then I was still going to give him a shot. I was like, I'm not going to take this hotel room. The domestic violence program said, we'll keep it in your name just in case you need it. So I broke up with him and he just lost it. He called the cops on me, telling them false information that I was bipolar, that I was hitting him, all kinds of stuff. So the police came and I had to leave my home where he wasn't even on the lease, didn't pay any bills. And now me and my son were forced to go to hotel rooms and live.
Let me go back a minute. I'm thinking, did I hear what she said? You went to the shelter thing for domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
But you was willing to give him another shot. Did I hear you right?
You heard me right. That's the craziness that goes on in these relationships.
Okay, what was so great about him that after all this, you was willing to go back? Now, you went to the domestic violence people. Here's a hotel room. What did he deal? What did he say to get you to come back? That I got to hear this one.
Yeah, I can't really remember that day. Well, when I came home from the domestic violence place, he was gone. He had gone out. I don't know where he went. He had taken all his meds with him, so I thought, okay, well, maybe he's just gone. That's good.
All his meds.
Yeah.
Isn't that called a flag?
Another flag.
Okay, go ahead.
And then he came back and he was really quiet and he went into my son's bedroom to sleep. I don't know why he didn't go into ours, but he went in there to take a nap. I think he had taken a good amount of his medication. And that's when my son and I were hanging out and I had messaged him like, I can't do this anymore. This is like the 5th or 6th time I tried to break up with him. Finally was the final time. And when he read that message, he came flying out of the bedroom, calling me a cunt. What the things he would do is he would call me a cunt. He would threaten to call the police and press false charges against me. And then he would call CPS and also tell them false things about me to have my son removed, as he knew that my son is the most important thing in my life. And he kind of used that against me with fear to control me.
I think that's some of what a lot of people fail to understand is there's a lot of manipulation involved. So it's not as if it's ignorance on her part, but there's just a lot of manipulation that's involved in all of that. What about your son? How old was he?
He was
during the time.
He was 3 when my ex first moved in, and then I just left at the end of May of this year. And I had to put him in therapy because he's been showing signs of trauma too from hearing all that.
Let's go. I'm glad you walked away from.
Yes.
Next time, ladies, next time, and I'm being the comedian on this one. Look at the signs. I mean, I can't understand why, if you've seen the signs, how did you not just walk away? A girl walk into my house and she's got 20 bottles of medications. You got to go. You know.
Yeah, there's not enough room in my cabinet for all this.
Look,
Yeah.
when they do this, you got to go.
Yeah.
You know. I think that I believe from listening to your story, and I'm not trying to make fun of it by any means. I mean, those are some serious things that we need to look at. A lot of times we look for love in all the wrong places, and we want it so bad that sometimes we just tolerate the fact that we really don't want to be lonely. So with that said, what was the biggest part of your therapy? What is the biggest part of therapy? I think the biggest part of therapy, and I'm not a therapist, but I think the biggest part of that is we need to start learning not only how to stay in that beast mindset, but we need to learn, more importantly, how to love ourselves. I think a lot of us do not really know the value in learning to love ourselves. And what I mean by that is, how many times of a day do you just sit in silence, in your own silence, and talk to yourself and bask in the glory of you, I call it me, myself, and I, the Beyonce, the me, myself, and I. Did you ever take that journey now with all this that you've gone through?
I have. I used to hate myself and now I love myself. And I don't know why I hated myself, because I've always been a compassionate, like heart of gold type of person, wanting to help everybody. And my therapist said that's kind of my fault too, because I just want to help everybody. And these abusers kind of see that, and they.
Now, on a lighter note, and thank you so much for coming and share such a great, impactful recovery of perseverance. Definitely that beast mindset. And let's get real, we all make mistakes. This is a judge-free zone, so we're not here to judge you. But I tell people that listen to my podcast, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's all you got to do. You may think, well, I would have did this. I would have did this. I would have did this. You don't know what you would have done until you put in that situation.
Yep.
You know, now let's go to a lighter side.
Yes.
Let's talk about your comedy. 20 million on the Howard Stern in 2016. Is it Rodney Dangerfield? Was that Rodney's first name? Rodney Dangerfield, the comedian?
Yeah. That was his
so
plug.
funny. I just watched one of his stuff. Yeah. I love him. You know, he was clearly a legend before his time, if that makes any sense. When you look at his comedy now, you go, he was before his time. But you performed in front of 20 million people. How did that opportunity even happen? I would have been scared. I would have loved it. Let's be real. 20 million. Yeah. I'm viral. What was it like for you?
It was really surreal. I had just gotten divorced and I was just starting to get into comedy. And High Pitch Eric from the Howard Stern show friended me on Facebook, and then he messaged me one day, could I take him to the set of Blue Bloods, because he was on that show.
Yeah.
I said,
Okay.
all right, why not? I'm not doing anything. I'm kind of depressed. I need a friend. Let's do this. And so we hung out for a while, and then Howard wanted to know who the girl in her right mind would want to hang out with High Pitch Eric. So he wanted me to come in and meet me. We were in there for about an hour. It was a really great experience, but you kind of don't remember that you're like talking to 20 million people, because it's such like a homey kind of environment, and you just feel like you're sitting there with Howard and Robin and Fred, and you forget about
Yeah.
everybody else. Yeah.
What's that like to work with them? I always wanted to be on the Howard Stern show because he just asked some crazy question and it's stripped out. I watched his story on how him and Robin got to be where they're at. And I just think it's so amazing that he saw the bigger picture for himself and Robin, and look where they're at today, and for you getting an opportunity. What were some of the things he asked you about dating his friend?
Well, I wasn't dating him, but I was just kind of staying with him, kind of more like a caretaker. I would take him to doctor's appointments. I'd take him out to eat, take him to do fun things. And, yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
No, I was asking you, like, when you was there, what's the one thing that you remember him and Robin talking to you about? Because 20 million people, like I said, both of them are great interviewers. I love their style, their no candid approach. I mean, people talk about me not having filters and stuff. I mean, Howard Stern was doing it long before I was doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He didn't ask anything inappropriate. Didn't say anything really sexual. Not really. It was just kind of like, why was I hanging out with Eric? And then another person from the show called in and said that they wanted to date me as well. So it was like this big love triangle kind of skit they did. and and then he asked me to tell a couple of jokes, and I told a couple of jokes, and yeah, it was a really fun experience. And he was so nice and sweet. Like when you looked him in the eye, you could tell he's like a really gentle, kind soul. And they were all like that there. They were very friendly, very kind.
So going viral on the Howard Stern show with 20 million people, going viral before there was viral 20 million. How did that change your overall career at this point as a comedian? Because now everybody's listening to you, and I know they want to know who you are.
Yeah, he promoted, well, actually, Eric, I think, mentioned my show that I was coming up. It was my first professional show ever at Dangerfields. I had gotten that show. And so they promoted it. So it was sold out. It was completely sold out. So that was pretty nerve wracking. But then all of a sudden, like, a manager was interested in me, and all the comedy clubs in New York City and Long Island were interested in me. I started getting a lot of followers on Facebook.
Had you done any shows prior to that? For people can see, what they call a playbook. Yeah. Did you have a playbook?
Right.
So that one little thing, let me tell you what I'm going with this. This just goes to show you to take advantage of an opportunity. And more importantly, you never know who's listening, and you never know who's watching, because you hadn't really done any comedy.
No, I performed a few times at my brother's work parties, like at his house, but that was it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So check this out, April. We're going over our time, but so we're gonna wrap it up in a minute. But I just got to ask these questions.
Mm-hmm.
You get on a platform like Howard Stern's and Robbins to and all of a sudden they blowing you up. You got to now perform at the Super Bowl now. You got to go out and deliver. What was that like for you? You at Rodney Dangerfield's comedy place. Everybody's sold out. You better be fucking funny.
I was so nervous. And Eric had brought like almost the entire cast of Blue Bloods there. So they're sitting like right in the first couple of rows. I had notes with me because I was afraid I was going to forget what I was going to say. And all of a sudden, the notes, as soon as I got on the stage, the notes go flying out of my hand. And I just tell the audience, well, that was what you were going to hear, but now you might hear something else. And they thought it was a bit that I was doing that I just threw my papers. Oh, no, I was scared shitless.
Now, you mentioned Blue Bloods. I believe is that Tom Selleck, Blue Blood?
Yes. Yep, Donnie Wahlberg.
Was he?
No, he doesn't really hang out with the other cast, but Donnie Wahlberg does with everybody.
Okay, so now you really got to do good. So did you get good feedback? Did you get bad feedback?
I got really good feedback, actually, and I kept getting booked, which was nice. And then I became pregnant with my son, so I took like 4 years off, and then now I came back, and it's like everybody didn't forget about me. Yesterday, I guess I was on the History of Howard Stern on his show on
Really?
Sirius.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah, I was on the Best of Stern back in 2016 when I was on. My Facebook's just kind of exploded. I've been going on podcasts and stuff, and I think I just kind of promoted myself again because my Facebook page now got monetized. I'm getting 165,000 views a month. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm catching fire. I don't know.
Well, you better not go on your boys.
No.
We're not gonna give him no shots out on my show. So when you look back at your life before you wrap up, when you look back at your life and stuff, it was filled with some disappointment, some heartache, and you taking all that and turned that pain into bringing smiles at the expense of what you've gone through. So kind of like what your therapy said that you shouldn't be doing, you're now doing it, but you're doing it in another form. What would you leave the viewers with everything that you've been through?
I think no matter how much life knocks you down, you can always get back up. I formed a relationship with Jesus Christ and God, and ever since then, I've been getting blessings left and right. I just want people to know that it's not the end of the world if something bad happens to you. It's kind of more like trials and tribulations that you have to go through to get to something great, and never give up.
I like that. That's definitely that beast mindset.
Yeah.
How can the viewers? You got any questions before we wrap up? Closing questions?
No, because that you actually got into it. I was thinking about the trauma prior to, and now look at what she does is she's making people laugh. So I think that's quite a flip.
How can the viewers reach out to you? Let's continue to grow your brand.
Yes, on Facebook and Instagram, it's April Burke 9. Yeah, that's where they can get in touch with me.
Okay, that's the Y69.
That's always been, you would think it's sexual, right? But it's actually not. That number has been in my life, like whenever something great happens, like there's that number always shows up places.
Interesting.
It's really weird. But I've read that it's some kind of angel number, actually, which is kind of weird because it's associated with a sexual act of prosperity and blessings to come and things like that.
That sounds like a winner. Thank you so much for taking time to come on. And you're going to, hopefully soon, you're working on hopefully launching you a podcast, and you're also back to teaching and so forth. We're going to learn more about that as we continue doing the show with your podcast interview. Let's get ready to close this show out. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe, share, follow, click that button. All it takes is one click of a button to make a difference in somebody else's life, as well as meaning yourself, even in your own life. April, thank you so much. Oh, before we go, where are you touring now? Are you touring anywhere around the Midwest? Where some places you're going to be at?
I'm doing shows upstate New York, which I never really did. I always did New York City and like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. But I am about to sign with an agent, and he wants me to go all over the place. So that would be a lot of fun.
The best place to go is the greatest city in the world, Indianapolis, Indiana. Crackers, helium. We got some of the best comedy right here in the new greatest city in the world, Indianapolis, Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another exciting episode, say it with me, of the Andre The Beast Crayton
Show.